Hello, you guys. Welcome to this week's episode of the Expand and Evolve podcast. If you haven't been here before, thank you so much for joining. My name is Carly Pynchon, and today I wanted to share about my experience with ayahuasca. I had the pleasure of sitting with ayahuasca 2 times this past weekend. And truly, I'm so grateful to have that experience because how deep you've gone into spirituality in your journey and all of that, everyone is different. Um, But for me specifically, I feel like there's a deep respect and reverence for the medicine, the women and the men who played a role in this, the women and the men who are sharing this plant, the plants that are used and the wisdom with others in order to help heal people on this planet. And I know how lucky I am and fortunate to get that experience because there's going to be a lot of people who more and more it's becoming mainstream. More people know about this and more people are going to have these experiences. But there's going to be a lot of people who also may not get this experience. And I just feel really, really grateful that I was able to sit with it and gather the wisdom that was shared with me. So I first want to say that. And if you don't know what ayahuasca is, it's a plant medicine. And one thing I just want to start to say this is how insane is it that we have somehow demonized plant medicines, like things grown from the earth, a mushroom, tree bark, a leaf. We've somehow made these things bad or scary or like the devil. Don't you dare touch plant medicine. Like, oh my God, it means you're messing with the devil. And I'm just like, how manipulative must that be? And just to start with this, that if you truly believe in God, you believe in God, you believe in the creator, created this entire planet. Why would they create something that can give you full access to God in a way that like you cannot access without plant medicine, in my opinion? Like if you have, I'd be shocked if someone who had never done plant medicine did plant medicine and said, yeah, that feels like every day for me. Like the connection you feel with God is next level. You understand that your soul and God and like the connection of this planet and everything is so different than how we feel it is when we're only an ego and body. And so anyways, if you truly believe in God, how could you ever be afraid? First of all, if you believe in God, why do you have such a fear of something outside of you? That is interesting for one, because I'm like, for me, the deeper connection I get and I build with God, source, energy, universe, anything, I have zero fear. Like I am so full of faith and deep trust. My 2 little hummingbirds went by. Um, that I have nothing to be afraid of. And so I would just say to you, like if you truly think you believe in God, but you still are riddled with fear, I'm going to challenge you that your connection's not as deep as you think that it is. And there's some work that could be done there to deepen that connection. So, anyways, how crazy that we've somehow been manipulated into thinking that these plants are bad when they're literally here to give us deep. I can't with how greasy my hair looks. I need to put it up. But I'm going to put an oil mask in it later. So I was like, I don't want to wash it because I want to put an oil mask in. But if I put an oil mask in first, you guys are going to be like, what's happening with this girl's hair? For anyone that's watching. Anyways, what was I saying? For me, I just had this really, really deep realization that like, it is freaking nuts that we have been convinced that human-made substances, such as alcohol, such as what they have done with tobacco, because tobacco used to be sacred also, the pharmaceutical drugs that they've created, like cacao, for example, like what they've done to chocolate and made it mainstream when like cacao is a plant medicine. It's a heart opener. That's like a mainstream one. Another one, cocaine, coca leaves. Is that what it is? Coca leaves, whatever. They went and like manipulated cocaine to make it a very addictive drug. It never used to be like that. That was actually the root was a plant medicine. Same thing with like opioids and all the things. So ultimately what man has done to these plant medicines has made them dangerous, addictive, destructive, and bad for your health. The original plant forms, though, they are soft, they are gentle, they are loving, and they are there to help unlock knowledge and help you release stuff that you're storing that we're so unaware we're storing. And so with that, I will get into my 2 journeys and what I was shown in these 2 ceremonies. And so the first one, how it kind of works is like you prep your body, you want to eat really clean food. be ready for it. We were doing like no caffeine, all these things. And like, honestly, I felt like I was communicating with the medicine even that week. And it ultimately showed me like the caffeine isn't the issue. It's more like you understanding your dependence on something outside of you. And so that's more of what I feel it was trying to show me was like, hey, this substance outside of you, which again, caffeine, it's the most overused plant medicine on planet Earth. Caffeine, it's from a plant. It's not meant to be abused the way we do. But it pretty much showed me like me using it sometimes. It's like, as long as you have, again, a respect and relationship with the thing that you're using and an awareness of it. And so anyways, you eat really clean, you go into ceremony, you start at night, you walk up, you like set intentions. I set lots of intentions. I meditated that day, got ready for it. Just very similar, like if you've ever been to a breathwork circle, any type of ceremony, a women's circle, any of that. It's very similar in that sense. Like you literally just sit on your mat, you're comfy, you go up to the shaman and the medicine woman and the team to receive the medicine. She blesses it for you. You share what you feel ready for. She just gave us a little bit to start so that our body could get used to it. And ultimately it was very much like your body is taking it in and almost like scanning the medicine. So you have to think of it like the same way you'd go in for like a CT scan and this machine is like scanning your body. The medicine is doing that when it first goes into your system. So for me, it was actually so familiar tasting. I was like, why do I recognize this flavor? This flavor feels like something that I've had before. And it felt so familiar. I was expecting it to be like so bitter and disgusting and nasty because of the way some people described it. And I was like, this is fine. It was like kind of sweet. Like it wasn't terrible. So I drank the first cup. And I like held it, set my intention, took it down. I was really nervous for the taste. So I like chugged it back. And then I was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Like I could have gone a little slower. And ultimately then you just go lay on your mat. Everyone goes one by one. You lay down on your mat and then that's it. Like you're there for a couple hours. You go through your different emotions and feelings. They welcome you for more if you feel like you need more. On the first day, I didn't really feel much from the first cup. And so I went up and had a second. And the way I would describe it is that I think people are afraid of plant medicine because they've been super drunk before or drank too much alcohol and they feel out of control and like they don't know what's happening and that they're going to embarrass themselves and they're going to be sick. And like what I would say is no plant medicine that I've worked with have I been unconscious. Like as soon as I need to, I can open my eyes, I can walk to the bathroom, I can be fully functioning. You're not aware of your surroundings. So it's really not scary. Are you going to process things? You're going to move through things that maybe you wouldn't if you were just sitting here like normal right now. Yeah, but like they're valuable and they're there to, it's in such a loving way. Like it's only going to show you what you need to be shown in order for your own growth, your own evolution, and your own well-being. And so like there's really truly nothing to be afraid of. And so anyways, second cup, and then that's when it started kind of taking me where I had a lot of visuals. I like to keep my eyes closed personally because I feel like that's when I connect the most. If I'm sitting up or if I open my eyes, I feel like I still get distracted by everybody else. And so I honestly just go into like a deep meditative state. And I laid there and all of a sudden it started showing me all of these different memories in my childhood where it was like, you were in some really icky situations. You were in some really icky houses. You have some really icky memories that you as 5, 6-year-old shouldn't have. And I was like, wow, this poor little girl, like I had so much empathy for younger me who witnessed these things. And because you're just going through your first, round of life, like you think it's normal. It's what I grew up around. And I went, dang, like my kids have never witnessed this stuff. They've never been in situations like this. They've never entered homes like this. They've never entered sick, gross houses. And so I just had this icky feeling through my whole body, like showing me how icky this was. And one of my intentions was to release anything that wasn't serving me. And so it for me, I went in thinking like, I don't know, I've done so much work. Like what's even going to show up? And as it showed me all this, I went, whoa, like I would have never thought that being in this house that like the kids were full of lice and there was like maggots under the bed and there were ants everywhere and all of these like really gross things, or like they didn't have good food or the parents were always drunk and they were like eating like dog crackers for food because they didn't have food. Like all of these situations, I just see kids as kids. Obviously we're kids. I'd never really gone back to that to be like, this is crazy. This is freaking crazy that like this is the homes that you were in. And so imagine when you're little, we absorb energy. That's what our bodies do. And so what it was kind of showing me was like I was this sponge that would absorb all this negative energy. And it was basically giving me this vision of like, when one light is on and all the bugs want to go to the light because they like see the light and they're so enticed by it and they like want a piece of it, but they're never going to be the light. They're always going to be in the dark kind of thing. It's almost like it was showing me that I was like this light and I would absorb it all, because what it showed me was like I didn't have anyone to speak to about this and to articulate what I was feeling and going through. Not that my mom wouldn't have been there and like known that this was kind of icky, but I don't think there were conversations to say like, did it feel kind of like, because obviously you don't want to put people's homes down and things like that either. But like, I just was shown like, had I had an outlet, someone that I could have been like, yeah, I did feel really yucky. And like, yeah, my body feels kind of funny. And like, yeah, it doesn't feel good. And I don't feel good when I leave there. But like, I love my friends, but like, it feels really heavy and like a lot. And I was just like, wow, our kids need that outlet for us to guide them through these situations that can feel really sticky, icky, messy, sad, like a lot that they can't articulate into words, but as us as adults can. And so walking them through those situations to give words to what they're feeling and trying to get that out of them, because it was basically showing me all these moments and these things that happen I never had anyone to share it with. So I'd literally been storing all this ickiness in my body from the time I was 6. I'm 32. And so it was like, holy, like these little things that weren't wildly traumatic, but they were things I was still carrying and holding on to that I didn't need to hold anymore. And what's so interesting is like a couple people from my past ended up messaging me that same week. And some of them that was their homes that I was like, weird. It like showed me that and how icky it was. And it's like, they always say, once you commit to sitting with plant medicine, it starts working with you. The spirit starts to work with you even ahead of time because it knows that you're coming. And so that week I did a bunch of different, like almost like my own journeys at home of different exercises and things, releasing ex-partners and all that. So I had like worked through a lot with ex-partners already in terms of relationship, but it essentially took me back to all of these things because I feel like I'm talking really fast. Sorry, I have so much to say. But it basically showed me like for myself how I thought, like, I think about relationships and you could say failed because like our marriage is ending and all these things. And I went, okay, like I've worked through everything with every partner. And I don't really feel like it's a daddy issue, for example, or a mommy issue. Like, of course, things are created through our relationship with our mom and our dad. But I went, okay, well, what happened in these friend groups where you learned certain behaviors? Because I think there's something here. And so the cool thing when you're working with plant medicine is that you can ask questions. So like you'll be sitting there and you're like, okay, but like I don't get it. Like I need you to explain this to me, and then they'll explain it. It's like, okay, but that doesn't really make sense. So like, what about this? Okay, what's the value of this? Like, why are you showing me this? And it will give you more and more and more to help bring awareness to it so you can process and move through it. The whole goal is to help you let go of what is not serving you, so that you can become lighter, freer, more present, more grounded, more like just feel like how humans should feel, which we're all storing a lot of stuff because we've grown up in pretty crazy situations for a lot of us that's really unnatural. And it showed me that too. And so anyways, it took me through all these situations as a kid and I went, what the heck? And then it took me to this one memory of my friend who was older than me and I looked up to like an older sister, and her sexually abusing me for the first time. And I always felt weird using that term because it feels so like it should be reserved for something violent or whatever. But it was like I finally understood where they say that most of the time when this happens, it is someone that you love, know, and trust. And I looked up to her. I loved her. I thought she was like my big sister. And so it kind of let me sit with that for a moment. Like I've known that happened my whole life. It wasn't a memory I blocked out. And it made me sit with that and go, like, it was so confusing because you love this person, you care about them. And so I was afraid if I told my parents, then she would get in trouble and I wouldn't see her anymore. And I didn't want to lose her because I was an only child. She was like a big sister to me. She was my closest friend. And so I wasn't willing to risk that by telling my parents. So I didn't tell anybody. And it was just showing me, like, again, poor little 6-year-old trying to navigate these really big, hard situations all on my own. And it was like, no wonder you've always felt like you need to do everything alone. Like you couldn't rely on anyone. You kept it all in your whole life. And then it also showed me like where, and I wrote a bunch of notes and I might read this to you guys, I might not. But it kind of showed me, I was like, okay, hold on. I was like, I think this is the root of where I kind of correlated like giving my body for love. And a bunch of you as women may truly relate to this, where you're like, shit, like think back to your first sexual encounter. or a situation where you really loved someone and something happened like that, whether it was someone that was like you weren't okay with, or maybe you were 14 or 16 or 18, it was your first boyfriend, but like you didn't feel like you were choosing it. And so you equate giving your body for love. And it becomes this normal thing where you think, oh yeah, that's just what you do. And it showed me so clearly, like, that's not what you do. And love shouldn't make you give your body when you don't feel like you want to give your body. But I kept that my whole life. And like, I've always had boyfriends and stuff. And so it made me just think back to each one of them where I was like, did I ever really even choose that I was ready or wanted to? Or did I just kind of assume we love each other? So like, here you go. This is what you do. You just give your body. And I went, wow, I think a lot of my like sexual circumstances and situations, which this is so cool to reflect on because journey 2, we're going to talk about like pussy power, which holy shit, I've never read the book, but like I got a clear freaking download about this. And I was like, holy shit, this power that I've been so not given credit to my whole life. Anyways, and so it kind of showed me all of that. And I just went, wow, like what a good, healthy understanding where I didn't need to beat myself up for like, how did I get here? And why was I in relationships like this? And like, what was wrong with me? And it was like, no, it was a learned behavior. You truly did it from your heart and out of love. How can you be mad at a little 6-year-old for creating this story that like, oh, people you love can use your body and like that's just what you do? And I'm like, that's so sad for that little 6-year-old me. And I just think about my kids who are 6, like they just one turned 7, one turned 6. I'm like, they're so freaking tiny and innocent. And like that I tried to make sense of this all by myself. Like I just had so much compassion for little me and in trying to navigate these situations and circumstances the best that I could with what I had to navigate them in. And so it kind of took me through that. And honestly, that was like the overarching theme. When it showed me the sexual abuse, I did puke. So it's like, it's a purgatory, whatever. There's likelihood of purging when you drink ayahuasca. And that's the purpose. Like it wants to get things out of you that have been sitting dormant in you for a really long time. So certain people were like really throwing up pretty violently. Like you could feel the power coming out with it. And so it's not like when you get sick, oh my God, I don't want to get sick. And even that, it showed me like, what if we need to embrace when we're throwing up? Like if that's the same way that like we might shake or we might yawn or we might cry or we might get mad or we might feel like using force, stomping our feet, like different things that we do to get rid of energy, like unnecessary energy that we're holding. I was like, puking's just another one of those things. And so I was like, actually, and this came through to me the last time I got violently ill. I was throwing up at home and I went, okay, if ayahuasca is something that people use to purge, like what if you saw this as a sacred experience right now, that your body is helping you get rid of everything that's no longer serving you and you embraced it instead of trying to hold it in and hold it down. Just let it out and let it go and let this take anything out of you that you don't need anymore. And I did that. And then that's the same thought process I had with ayahuasca when I felt that like purge wanting to come out. It's not comfy, obviously, when you're throwing up, but like, I was like, it's fine. And so I kind of just embraced it, allowed myself to get sick, and it was really light. So that was ceremony 1. The other thing that I would just say about the first ceremony was that it really just showed me how less is more. Like we have so much stuff. And like this was shown to me in a psilocybin journey too. But I was like, why do we need all this stuff? And I was like, we need all this stuff because we're constantly grasping and trying to take things from outside of us to make us feel connection, ultimately, to try to make us feel something. And what it was showing me was like, if you would just slow the F down, sit on the earth, and obviously you've probably heard of grounding, but this like showed me it in a different way. Because in that moment where I was just like, oh, like feeling so depleted from it all, I sprawled out on my mat, I laid down, put my hands on the cold concrete, feeling like I was truly getting absorbed into the earth. And I was like, oh my God, all these times where I feel like I would grab for food or I would grab for my phone or like be scrolling or like thinking I need to buy something. I'm not a big shopper, but you might be. Feeling like I need to go grab some snack or feeling like I need sugar in this moment. It was like, whoa, if you take a moment before you do anything or you reach for something outside of you and you bring some conscious awareness to slow the F down, sit down. If you can, go lay on the floor of the earth for real. And I was like, I had no hunger. I had no need for water. I had no need for anything else. I literally had the thought, I was like, am I ever even going to need to eat again? Like, I'm so good without anything outside of me. I don't even know if I need food. I don't even know. I was like, I think I could live on like 3 blueberries. Like, why do we eat so much? And I was like, why do we have all this stuff? And why do we think we need all this? And like our poor kids, I was like, oh, like our poor kids, like they're grasping for this stuff too. And their iPad and their this and their screens because they haven't been taught how to like calm the nervous system. They don't need all this stuff. They also could lay down flat on the earth and like connect with what it has to offer. But it comes back to us as adults teaching them that and bringing them to that and like giving them the awareness of that. And obviously with toddlers, they're going to be toddlers, right? But I just went, it's our responsibility to try to teach our kids this. And that was just made super, super clear to me also. So that was really powerful. In just feeling like I want to get rid of everything. I don't even want to buy my kids plastic toys. Like I'll bring into that. Oh my God. I had to feel humanity's pain on the second one, and that was freaking extreme. But just plastic and like single use stuff. And I was like, okay, as much as you can see that this is such an issue with the world, like where are you contributing? And I was like, well, when I buy my kids like crap toys that they want, like I can educate them on like, we actually don't need this. This doesn't have value. Then we're contributing to this for the planet. And like helping create an awareness to this stuff that we just don't need. And if you think about your own kids, like any toys that we buy them, they're so short lived. Like they care for 2 seconds, and like then they want to play with sticks and play with mud and play with dirt and rocks, and like that brings them more joy anyways. Or like the friggin' box that it comes in, like that's more fun anyways most of the time and gets more use long term than like the toy that was fun for a second. And if you take that to your own life, think about it when you're using like social media or, oh my God, I'm gonna sneeze. If you're using anything outside of you, um, it's like fun for a second. Like you might get on social media and you're like scrolling and it's like giving you little dopamine hits, and then you feel like, ugh, whatever. And then you don't want anything to do with it anymore. Like it's the same thing with our kids' toys. And I was like, they're ultimately reaching and grasping for things outside of themselves also because they are looking for deep connection. And we're the only ones who can give them that. And so it was just honestly, such a beautiful, beautiful journey. And I remember opening my eyes and like seeing the web of connection above me. I can't even explain it other than like it almost looks like DNA strands. And you can see, like if you haven't read The Invisible String or The Invisible Web, they're 2 children's books, but I'm like, these people for sure probably have sat with plant medicine who designed it. But it shows our interconnectedness. And when you can physically see with your eyes, like the webs that are drawn and how stunning and beautiful these colors are, because it's showing me what it was showing me was energy and frequency, and that it is real. Like we can't see it when we're in this state, but when you're taking anything that helps with, what is it called? Not a psychedelic. When you take something like that, it gives your eyes a different perception. And I can see this whenever, even if I microdose mushrooms, I can see power moving through power lines. I can like see the colors that it is. You can see the color of the frequency that's moving. And so just sitting in that and realizing like, holy, this web that we think we're like separate or different or individuals, we are, but like there's a ripple effect to everything you do, everything that's happening on this planet. We are so freaking connected, and we have been convinced that we are separate and we need to do everything on our own. And it showed me how much like we need community, we need village. This is why we used to live that way. And we've been convinced for consumerism that we need our own home and our own thing and our own land. And it was like, no, we need to make sure that we are living in community and like creating that sacred connection amongst other people, because we literally need it. It's part of our wellness. And you guys have probably heard this too. Elderly who are alone all the time, they die from literally loneliness. Like connection is one of our main human needs outside of like food and water and shelter. It's connection. So making sure that we have that and that our babies feel connected to us, because it's so easy. And this is just like something that I was shown. All of us, a lot of us probably do this with screens, where it's like, sometimes I just need a freaking minute, like go play for a minute. They get to sit there for a little bit, but I'm trying to help them understand too the impact that it has on their brain. It's not good for them. And so I'm being way more mindful, even in the moments where it feels easy and I'm working and like they're on it for over an hour, to remove it, to give them that space, sorry, for creativity, but also oh my God, I can't stop echoing now. Sorry. Making sure I'm creating the space for deep, deep one-to-one quality time connection, because when they have that need filled up, and then like taking them into nature and helping them understand that even them laying on the floor for a bit could be the thing that like makes them realize, oh, I don't need sugar. I'm not actually that thirsty. Oh, I actually don't need anything. I just needed to feel this, because there is for sure an electromagnetic field. And like the only way I can describe it is you'd almost need to see, like, you have your mom and dad, right? And like that's where some people say like sky daddy up top and like mother earth down here. And so you can think of God as like this thing in the sky. And then you can think of the mother, because obviously everything is polarity. So the whole thought that there's only one man God is the most delusional BS I've ever heard in my life. Of course, first of all, God is probably non-binary. He's probably not male or female. But anyways, if you want to think of it like that, like God being a man, okay, well, who's the woman? There has to be both. So it's like, if you think about that, then it would be like, okay, Mother Earth, Father Sky. There's polarity in both. The sun, the moon, the man, the female. Like there's both, polarity in both, okay? The masculine, the feminine. And so if you know that, then the mother, the way I see it now, and like this has just been an ongoing build, I feel like, of information that I've had in these deep journeys, meditations, whatever, is that the Mother Earth she's holding us at all times. So like you come out of your physical mom to come into this world in a human body. And then you're here and we think we are separate and alone from our mom. And like obviously we have close connection to them growing up and whatever. But it's like, if you could actually see that you're being held and protected by this earth, and that you can plug into her, lean on her, allow her to hold you anytime you want or need, you would realize like you've never actually been alone. You've never actually had to do it all yourself. You've never actually had to be the one that does it all. And this has been shown to me in breathwork too, where it was like, you don't have to hold it all. I've been here willing to support you this entire time. Lean on me. But I have to be the one to actually allow myself to lean on someone. And so in the journey, I was laying there on the floor, just like melted, like my face was smushed against the ground. And I was just like letting her hold me and take it all. Like it was like I was releasing everything into the ground and be like, I don't want to hold it anymore. I'm so tired. I don't want to hold it. I don't want to have this weight on me. Like, take it. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for holding me. And it just showed me how like we all have that ability to lay on the earth and let her take it and like be with her, to be like, thank you for supporting me and like, thank you for holding me. And she's been here the whole time. We just don't even see it. Like, think of how much, if you're not super connected with nature, you walk by the trees, you don't even recognize them and acknowledge them as living beings that are literally feeding us air right now. And like they're living, they're growing, they're supplying us, whether it's with shade or food or oxygen. Like they're literally supporting our life. And we just walk by these animals and these plants as if we're somehow better. And it was like, no, we're all connected. We need all of it. They need us just like we need them. And yeah, anyways, that part was super beautiful. So that went through, and then it basically, yeah, stop trying to carry it all was super, super a big theme. And then to learn Spanish again, because I was like, English is not it. English was taught to us like recent, obviously, but it's like our soul language. I feel like it's probably not Spanish either. It's probably something way more indigenous, but Spanish to me felt like something I need to learn. I don't really know why. I used to speak it. And I'm like, I need to relearn that, because there's something about like English shouldn't be our main language. Yeah, it needs to be something different. Like our soul, it just doesn't make sense. Like, yes, we speak in English and yes, it's what we speak in right now, but it was like, there's another language that would feel better frequency wise for our beings and our souls and like the planet. And that was really clear. I just don't know what that language is yet. So, another thing, something about loving each other and staying connected. And oh yeah, and it also showed me, and this is so interesting, because I feel like men always really feel comfortable opening up to me about stuff. And it showed me that I had a really powerful ability to connect and hold space and fully see men. And they feel safe being seen by me. And it was like when a couple of men were like really going through it, and my whole body instantly just set up. Everything I was going through stopped. And I was literally sitting there like holding space for all of them And like, I feel empowered that I don't need to absorb people's stuff anymore, but I can sit here and hold space for what you're moving through without taking it on as my own. And that used to be my habit, is that I would take everyone's shit on as my own and like feel like I needed to solve it or fix it for them, where it's like, no, everyone is capable of fixing and solving it themselves, but you can be there. You can be there as a support system. You can love them, but you don't need to take it on as yours. So anyways, okay. Next ceremony. Okay. This one was a funny one. So 2 cups again, go in and I'm like, oh, what could I have to process today? Like, feels so good, so light, but whatever, who knows what's going to show up, right? I knew it was going to be a lighter one. Okay. So I go up, I have my first cup, I lay down. I can already feel like I don't feel super different. I don't feel like I'm in another planet. I don't feel like I'm in another world. Like super aware of what's happening, but when I close my eyes, I'm having visions and it's taking me through some stuff. And it's very much like working with my body. I could feel it. And even the first day, the guy who was laying next to me, he was like, "You were so like sensual." And I was like, I was just like moving energy through my body, but like I didn't feel like I was doing anything sexual, just like very much like touching and moving. Oh yeah, because I don't know if it was this one. I think it was my second ceremony where I saw this, but it basically showed me like, okay, we might do skincare, right? But I was like, if every cell in our body is alive and we don't take the time to be like, thank you, hands. Like, you helped build my whole business by texting and typing. Like, thank you. You helped me make my food. Oh, arms, like love the tissue of your whole body, like truly giving love through your hands to every part and tissue on your body. And I was like, oh, like we need to love it. And so he probably saw me like doing this because I was like, oh, and then I was like, stomach, like, thank you so much, because it's where I've always carried my extra fat. And I went, oh, you were just storing all of the shit that I didn't know how to process my whole life. Like, thank you for holding that for me. Because that's what happens. Like, your tissue will store what you're not ready to process. And so I was like, oh, thank you, stomach, for like holding that for me and like moving through that. And like, I'm ready to let you go now because I don't need to hold anymore. And like, I'm letting it go now. So thank you for providing that space to hold this for me my whole life. But like, I'm ready to let you go. And I was just like touching my stomach and massaging it and like, thank you for that. And then I was like, my legs, like, when's the last time you said thank you to your knees or like loved on your knees? And all we're doing is looking and be like, oh my God, my skin's getting wrinkly and my hands look old. I'm like, okay, well, have you ever loved on it? Have you ever given love to your hands? Or are you so worried about the eye wrinkles you don't even pay attention? Like, when's the last time you like loved your chest for absorbing sun, or like your boobs for nourishing your babies instead of thinking that they don't look perfect? Like, when is the last time you gave true love to yourself and your body and your tissue, every inch of your body? And in that, I was like, I get it now. The whole like, you can't have a partner love you until you can love yourself. And I was like, how could I expect a partner to come in and want to like ravish and touch my whole body and like love every inch of it when like I had not had the realization yet to love every inch of it? And I was like, oh, and there's a difference between hearing something and knowing it like an embodiment. And I went, I get it. I get it. Like, we need to just like love every inch of ourselves, and like through loving ourselves, because you hear it, self love, like, oh, put a face mask on for self love. And it's like, that's not self love. Self love is like, thank you, stomach, for like everything you've done for me. Like, have you sat and held your stomach and like, you literally keep me alive every day. You process all my food. You help me break down my nutrients so that I can be healthy and thriving and like have hair or skin or energy. No, instead we're thinking that we need to like suck it in because, oh my God, God forbid it looks fat. Okay, hold on. Like, what if we're just like, our poor tummy's been holding all of my fucking 6-year-old trauma, and I'm gonna be pissed at it for carrying fat? Like, actually, it was saving my life, like holding all the shit that I wasn't ready to process yet for the last, what, 28 years of my life. How long is that? Bad math. 26 years. So it's like, oh, thank you. And same thing, like, if you've had babies, it's like, you have a freaking portal to bring life into this planet, and we're gonna hate on the fact that our body looks like we carried a baby. Like, what if we actually carry it as a badge of honor? That like, wow, and not to say that like, let yourself go and don't be healthy and don't take care of yourself. That's different. But if there's evidence you carried a child, your body as a female, it was meant to do that. It was built to do that. We shouldn't be so mean to these portals of life. Okay? So like, let's love on our tummies. Okay? So until you can give that love to yourself, how can you expect another to give it to you? I've heard that 9 million times. 9 million times. I'm like, I do love myself. Like, I don't know. I think I'm loving myself. Like, meh, meh, meh. And then it was like, no, until you can truly keep giving yourself that love, like spending time when you put oil on or lotion on, like sending love through your hands to every cell, thanking it, loving it. Can you even slow down to do that? Most of us don't. And I was like, then what do you expect? If you cannot even take 10 minutes a day to like love yourself fully, what makes you think that somebody else should be able to give you that? You're wanting it out of someone else because you don't know, you're not taking the time to do it for you. And it's like, if you fill your cup like that and you do take that time, you don't need love from someone else. And that's when you're going to attract the healthiest love of all. So anyways, that was really clear. And then anyway, so I went into ceremony 2 being like, just let me release anything left that I need to let go of. If there's anything you want to show me, like show me the truth of who I am, help me communicate and connect, whatever. Okay. And then I was told that I had 2 more babies around me through that whole ceremony, the first one. And I went, interesting. I knew there was one because I like connected with my belly and I was like, okay, there's a baby here. And Dan, who was beside me, he was like, there's 2 and they're coming and your baby daddy is so awesome. Like his energy is, like he's just the best. And I was like, I feel that too. Like I can feel him, but I like, obviously I don't know who he is yet. So anyways, I felt that. Yeah. Okay. So in the second one, I'm just going to read some of this stuff, but at like as an overview, first cup showed me pussy power. Okay. Like it showed me the feeling of like the medicine was moving through my body, showing me how energetically powerful we are. It was almost like I was being fine-tuned like an instrument, like a mating call almost, like ready to call in this life partner. Okay. And it was like it was maneuvering my body to get me ready for this person. And it was like, I can't explain it other than that. And then it was basically like, I'm a queen bee and I'm so freaking magnetic when you're in your power. You don't need to go seek out anything. Like he is coming. You don't need to seek out shit. Like he's on his way. He's coming to you. And so it basically showed me like a queen bee just sitting in there with like everything coming to me. And then it basically gave me this vision of like, when we focus on what we want, truly can like center ourselves, ground ourselves, get rid of all the noise, center yourself with what you want. It is like a laser beam goes out directly to that thing and now it's pulling it toward you. I've heard this before, but I saw it and felt it in my body and I was like, oh, I get it. Like manifesting, intention, visualizing, all of these things, journaling, all of those are tools to help you do this. But when you can lock in your mind's eye and like see it, it was literally like I sent a freaking the most powerful laser beam directly out to it. And it was like, we're ready now. And it was like, that's it. I like set the connection point. The connection has been made. And it's like, it was just like, that's it. It's time. Let him do his thing to come find you. And you guys have probably heard me talk about this before because like a similar experience happened in a mushroom journey. But this was freaking nuts. And so then it started showing me how like, for me to be ready for this person. So this is before the laser beam happened. My legs started opening. So I was like laying on the floor, almost as if I was going to give birth. And it was showing me because I was like, what the hell happened? In the first time I was giving birth, that like my baby didn't grow properly and I had to have a C-section and that they didn't let me have my second one normal, even though he was coming vaginally. And so I had to feel the like sadness of that experience being taken from me, but also realizing I wasn't in my power. And so it taking ownership of the fact that like, it's not the doctor's fault. It's not the hospital's fault. It's not the OBGYN who bullied me. Like, yes. And if I was in my power, I would have said, F you. I would have stood up with my, like, this was showing me pussy power, like reclamation, whatever. I would have stood in my power and said, get the F away from me. I trust myself and my body. Move. That would be me now. I wouldn't lie there like a scared little fawn, but that's what happened to me in that situation and circumstance. So again, honoring who I was and where I was in that circumstance at that point in my life, but realizing like, had I been in my power, that never would have happened. I would have stood firmly in what I was doing, what I wanted, and I wouldn't have allowed someone else to bully me into doing what they thought was best because I know I can trust my body for what's best. And so I went through that and then it basically started like opening my legs slowly. Like it was helping show me that like in order for me to be ready to have these babies or receive this person, like if I'm still guarded and I'm still not willing to be fully open, then I'm not ready for this person that I think I want. And so it was like taking me through all the times that I like gave up my body too early and like gave it to people I didn't want to and like wasn't in my power. Let these men take something from me, and even that girl, that I didn't want to give because I couldn't speak up and say, no, I don't want to do this. No, you're not doing this to me. Like I just allowed it to happen. And so it's like it had to take me through all of that. And then me choosing that it's like, no, you're in control. You get to open when you want to open. And almost like the way I'll explain it is like they should be basically like begging at the gates to come in, and you get to decide when. You have full control, full power over all of that. And I went, whoa, like I understand this like pussy power thing in such a different way. Cause I've had moments like this where it like sent me back to like being in Egypt and the goddesses and how these men were like mesmerized, like waiting for them to say yes. And it was showing me how like we've lost that as women. Like we hold that power and we need to take that power back for men to be like literally basically on their knees, like begging to enter. And then when you say yes, because you feel ready and you're ready for it and you've prepared your vessel and your body, then it's time. But they don't get to just decide because they feel like entering that it's time. Does this make sense? Anyways, it was freaking wild, the shit that it was showing me. And it was so beautiful and amazing. And I was so happy. And there was no purging, no nothing. It felt great. And so then she called it for second cup. I didn't feel like I needed it. Then some time went by. I knew the ceremony was like going for a really long time still. And so I was like, well, I'm here. Like, am I not taking another cup because I'm scared of what's going to show up? And like, if I'm here, shouldn't I be, going through the full experience? And so I decided to get up for another cup. And I was feeling great. Like I walked outside, I saw the stars. I was like, this is so stunning and beautiful. And I was like, what if they're all up there looking down at us? Like, look at those stars. They're so beautiful. Looking down at us, like our reflection. I was like, what if we're just reflecting back up there, the light that we are to them, and they're saying down at us, like, look at those stars down there. And it was just like, whoa. And then my friend Samson, we were at dinner and he's like, you should write that one down. And I was like, really? Like, I don't know what I was thinking. He's like, no, that's like, it's deep and you probably don't realize it. I was like, okay. So anyways, I'm telling you guys because that was like a realization that I had in case that lands for any of you, or you're going to think I'm freaking crazy, which is fine either way. And so anyways, I go outside, I come back in, life is great. Everything's funny. Come back inside and I'm like, okay, let's go up for a second cup. And Dan goes, you're my hero. And I'm like, what? Why? Like, isn't everyone doing like having two cups? He didn't. I lay down and nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to endure. And this is where like you don't need to feel afraid because it's only ever going to show you what you're ready for. But this is something that is not a new thought to me. And so I was just like, if there's anything, I felt like because my first journey was so amazing and so good that I was like, if I have more, maybe it'll just keep me here longer. First of all, I think it was showing me like, stop thinking you need things outside of you to keep this feeling. And since you thought that, I'm going to show you the polarity of this and how deeply different it really can be. And so essentially it took me from feeling so empowered and like a magnetic butterfly, and like it was like making me do this again. Like I was ready to spread my wings, and it was like, you're ready to step into your power. Like it's go time. Like it's time to step in, stop holding back your voice. It also showed me authentic is like share all your thoughts despite feeling like it could offend somebody else. Like you're going to land for the right people. And if you're withholding your voice in any way, you're not being authentic to you. And so despite offending someone or hurting someone's feelings, like you need to speak proudly and powerfully and boldly in your beliefs, because they're your beliefs, they're your truth. They may be unique, but like if it's your truth, say it. And so it was basically like telling me like I'm ready to just, I don't know, fly to new heights, I guess. And so I feel like that will happen as I continue to use my voice and share truly like unfiltered me. Which there's stuff that's going to be, I know, like it's going to raise up like uncomfortableness in people and ickiness in people. And I was like, and what? And so what? Like I've done this with so many people where I've coached them and I'm like, I don't care if I bring up, I strike a chord with you. I care about your growth, evolution, and you succeeding in life in all things and like finding true happiness. That's what I care about. So why would I be afraid of striking a chord with somebody else if that's where it could bring them to? And so anyways, it kind of showed me that. Anyway, so I take the second cup, I lay down, and nothing could have prepared me for the shit show that I was about to endure. The way I'll describe it, it felt like hours and hours and hours, even though it wasn't hours. It felt like the longest time ever, where it basically showed me how first day it showed me the ickiness in my life. Now it showed me on humanity's global scale. And it basically made me feel humanity's pain, sorrow, grief of the world, and history and all these things, and how people have felt and how sick people are. And it showed me this before with the mushroom journey, but this one was showing me like how, like, when we're sick, eventually it kills the nature around us too, because it's like I'm giving, and I'm trying to absorb this sickness, but I'm done. Like, I can't do it anymore. And so it was basically showing me how in nature, like when areas are dying and like they don't have a bunch of trees and they don't have a bunch of life anymore, think about the density of those cities. So for example, where I used to live, North Delta Surrey area, I was thinking about all those homes that were around me. They were sick. The people in them were sick. They were disconnected and they had no idea that they were sick and like basically diseased, and how they were passing that disease on to others unknowingly because they were so unconscious and unaware of like what they were doing and passing on. And so it showed me that, and it's like, now think about the nature around it. And I was like, holy shit, there's like no nature. And when I go back and I drive by, I'm like, everything looks sad and dying and like nothing's really thriving. And I went, oh my God, like it's just like the two and two go together. When you don't have thriving, lush nature, the people are usually really sick and there's a lot of disease happening. And so it almost showed me like where there's still lush, beautiful nature, there's less density and sickness within the people. When the people are really sick and dense and diseased and they move and they migrate to these areas, nature dies along with it. And so it was like when people are whole, complete, understand the power of like life and nature and have rid themselves of the sickness and disease, and not sickness and disease like my knees hurt or I have diabetes. I'm like, all of that is just surface level bullshit. Okay, let's just start there. Some of these things are because you're eating shit, and then other ones are because you're consuming shit and you don't know how to process your emotions. And for some of it, like the disease has literally been passed on to you from your ancestors of their shit and like them sexually abusing you. So all of it really comes down to emotion. Like thinking that there's a genetic, oh, it runs in my genes that I have cancer. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Nobody just has cancer passed down. The cancer being passed down is the sickness of people in their, like, let's say you were sexually abused. Okay, so your mom holds so much anger and resentment. So because she holds so much anger and resentment, those cancer cells are in her body. That's what's been passed down to you, is like you're now holding her resistance, which is turning into cancer cells within your body. Does this make sense? So like none of it is actually sickness, like that you need to go to a doctor for. Like this is internal. So like sitting with ayahuasca is like surgery for your body, helping fix and connect and like move through stuff to like get everything out of you that could be sickness, basically. And one of the girls there, she literally was like, I literally laid here and had open heart surgery. They fixed my heart. And think about it, the people who have heart attacks and all these things, like, are they the most loving, open people? Or like, do they have a freaking broken heart and like something else is going on? Typically, any ailment in the body is just a reflection of what's happening emotionally. So if we know that, and we can go to the root of that, our bodies are going to have less illness. And it was just showing me how much like disease and sickness is like sickness of the mind. It's all the mind. When you heal the mind, the body no longer has sickness. And I was like, oh, like I get it. But it was showing me like these poor animals that are just trying to still survive off like what's left of this planet. And like it was showing me the trees that were so tired, and they're like, we were giving and we were giving and we were giving, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Um and so it felt like hours where it showed me this, and I had to feel that. And then it showed me how like, okay, when the nature and life around us gives out, we're next. Um and so it was just showing me, even as women and people, and so many of us feel this, where it's like we're giving and we're giving and we're giving, and then it's just like, and maybe we feel like people are taking, or like we're giving so much of ourselves to whatever we're giving ourselves to energy wise. And it just showed me how eventually like you just want to give up, like there's nothing left to give. um and so it just had me like feeling this. That's why like the emotion is so strong, because it was so heavy. Like the entire medicine team surrounded me and was trying to help me through it. And I was like, you guys, like, because you still feel conscious, and I'm like, I'm good, like I'm fine, but it's not done yet, and like it's still going through me. And so it was just showing me this and making me really have to feel the sorrow and the pain and the grief of our, not only like our ancestors, but the humans on this planet right now. And it was like, oh, like people need to know this like hope and faith, and like when they can get rid of all this stuff, how peaceful life can be. And so it got to the point where I was throwing up, feeling so physically ill. I'm like, when is this going to end? When is this going to be over? When is it going to end? Like, oh my God, like, why did I drink the second cup? Like, ugh. And so I'm laying there and mushed into the ground again, where I was just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't take it anymore. Like, I have nothing left to give. Like, I can't do it. And I think it was just trying to show me like how so many people feel, and they're so depleted, and nature in so many areas is so depleted. And I just went, wow, I'm really grateful, because that season, I just realized this, that season where I wanted to be in California so bad, I was visualizing California and I was like, it's so void of true lushness and nature in a lot of places. And I went, I'm so grateful I'm in Canada right now, because coming out of that journey, if I would have had to go back to where there was no lushness, I would have felt physically ill. Like there was nothing I needed more than to be back around rain, water, nature, lushness. And I was like, I'm so freaking grateful right now that I have this to go home to, because I don't think I could have functioned anywhere else. And so yeah, it just made me process humanity's pain. It was really, really, really intense. I had a section, it told me to go to Rome all of a sudden. Yeah, taking. It just made me want to feel like giving up. And so I did. I was laying on the ground, like, honestly, I could die right now. Just take me, like, let me die. I don't care. Like, I can't do this. And then, of course, by the end, it brought you out and I'm like dancing. Like, it was fine. But it was really, really, really heavy. Oh, I could feel my husband, and I was leaning on his chest and he was holding me, supporting me, letting me rest. So again, there was a massive theme of me feeling supported and resting and letting other people hold me. And this was something else that was really, really cool, was when I was laying there and I was dying. I had no water left and I couldn't get anything. And they were like, what do you need? I was like, I need water. I need water. Like, someone help get me water. And me asking for help, I never ask for help. I never ask people for what I need. I never ask for support. I do it all myself. And I think it was also showing me, because it had beat me down so far into the ground, that it was like, you need to ask for help. And so in that, the only strength I could like get in that moment was water. I need water, and like asking someone for help. And I think it just showed me, like, when we're so down, dying, like, we need to reach out for help, but we need to ask for what we need clearly and concisely. We can't expect other people to just figure it out for us. And then it showed me dragons and their families, and that they're raising their babies like hidden in dens. And their babies are so confused why they can't fly. And the moms keep having to tell them, like, they're just not ready for us yet. And it was showing me that they just can't wait to flourish. And for now, they're hiding in the caves. So whether that lands for you or not, I don't know. But how the mom is still nourishing them and holding space for the babies of the world. And yeah, and then, okay, I don't know what this means. It was showing me plastic and how it doesn't break down. And like, I was like, how can we have less trash? And I kept being like, there's so much shit, you guys. There's so much trash. Like, why do we have so much trash? Like, it's like all I could get out of my mouth when I came out of it. Yeah, and then helping kids with feeling connection and really teaching them the value and importance of like grounding into their self and feeling in their body. And I'm so grateful I had this experience, because I'm going to bring this in when I start having that school to teach them this stuff. Okay, calling it like tuning into that pussy power and understanding you can literally attract anything you want to you. And it was like I was summoning him to me. Okay, yep, this is me like rewriting everything. It was like my body was being rewired, and to be really, really gentle with myself and not engage in activities that drain my energy. Continue utilizing music and presence to tune into my very alive body. It was showing me that I need to get drums and I need to feel that frequency and vibration through my body, and then also teach my kids that. I also felt I was doing this to my sides. You guys can't see, but I was like pushing down my sides, and I was like, oh my God, we can physically shape our bodies. We get to decide what we look like. Like, if let's say you can't do it out of hate though, it has to be out of love. But I was like, let's say, for example, you're consistently thinking, I have a fat stomach. You're right, you have a fat stomach. You're going to have a fat stomach because you believe you have a fat stomach. But if you start visualizing and understand, like, oh, I don't carry fat in my stomach anymore. It's so nice. And like, not like out of delulu, but like that you actually can shape it. So like, if you don't want it, like push it away. And I want to make sure that I could actually do this with my body, but I literally was feeling like, oh, if there's extra fat I don't need on my arms, like, let's just let it go. We don't need it. And I need to move it out of me. It was almost like showing me like I could just pee it out and I just don't need it anymore. And like, it's just going to fall off. It was wild. Anyway, everything we're doing, we're creating with our thoughts. So shift your thoughts and you can literally sculpt your body through connecting and talking to the tissue. So think of that in any area of your life. If we know that we can shape our reality, why could we not shape our bodies? Give love and gratitude to the tissue who held space for everything you weren't ready to process and feel, and for holding it until you were ready. Let your body know it's safe to let it go, and you're no longer needing to hold it anymore. Ready to release and allow and let go. Okay, and then, okay, so the pussy power thing. Okay. I felt my body fine-tuning like a butterfly and queen bee magnetizing all of my needs toward me by the power of my body, mind, and frequency. So full of love. Sending it out to transmute to others as much as I am calling it back to me. I know my power, and those who can't acknowledge and see the amazingness aren't for me. The ones who get it are an energetic match and will recognize it within me. Whole body being aligned with this frequency, and I'm so grateful for it, and not meeting my partner before this because I had to remember my power in order to be able to protect and hold energetic boundaries for people who are not for me. Then it took me outside to see the stars, and they're just reflecting back to us the light that we are, and that we're just reflecting the beautiful light that we are back to them. Brought me to complete surrender. So the second cut brought me to complete surrender while processing deep, deep pain of humanity and the disease and disconnection of the world, and how we're all so deeply connected and intertwined, and not meant to just block that out because they need our help to bring them back to that deep connection and respect with the earth, nature, love, people, plants, animals, and all living beings, which will help bring people and planet back together with deeper connection to each other and the world around us, creating community and connection. That I have 2 babies coming. Could feel the pussy power reopening, then the healing, all things that had me closed from truly connecting to my body to birth these next babies beautifully and naturally and feel good and ready to do that. It helped me feel the allowance and openness. So they always say like the feminine is receiving, allowing, and being open. And I was like, I fully understood what that meant. And like Dan was beside me. He's like, no, you were so in your feminine flow for both of them. And I was like, no, dude, I felt it. And that deep trust within my own body and acknowledging where it came from, where it was disconnected from. And that's power. And just acknowledging and understanding where the disconnection came from. And that it was actually my body protecting itself. Saw how much our kids need mentorship and guidance. And with that, I was like, my boys need male role models. So immediately it was like, okay, you can have ayahuasca and take this experience, but what are you going to do to implement it into the real world? And it was like, you need to get the mentorship. So I took them to ninja class. I'm enrolling them in kickboxing. I want them to have men that they feel deeply connected to and to look up to build that brotherhood now. And so I'm going to seek that out. It was just showing me like the area I grew up in had been through a lot of darkness. And then it's like, for me, I just didn't know how to create energetic boundaries back then. And now that I do, it's like, I feel so much better. Okay. So I was the light in the darkness. I told you guys this, calling my husband and remembering and like feeling that me resting my head on him and feel, so loved, supported, and cared for, and that he holds such deep respect and reverence for me and understands my power and trusts it. His chest felt like home, and I could feel how he truly had me, like fully and wholly had me and was able to hold me. And then it was like, I could feel he was so on purpose and in the right space to accept me and be ready to hold me and my values and my heart so much, and truly believed how amazing I was. And I was like, this is something, if you're single or not single, even if you're in a relationship, it's like, does your partner feel that they can trust you with their whole heart and that you're the most amazing thing on this planet? Because I'm like, that's what I feel he feels within me. And it's like, I'm cultivating that by feeling that within myself first. And so I'm going to call in an energetic match who matches me there and feels that same way. That it was showing me I must create a sanctuary that feels so beautiful, wholesome, and calm, that to call everything in toward me based on who I am becoming and who I'm being, that all of my needs are met effortlessly and beautifully. That it was such a beautiful experience of the polarity, and also me feeling that sick was showing me what I was doing to my body, holding other people's disease and well-being on my shoulders. it wasn't my responsibility and I was able to let it go. It was showing me the negative impact it was having on my body. And so that was what I feel like when it was me processing humanity's pain. It's like it was also showing me how much of other people's stuff I've held my whole life and like what that's doing to my body by holding it. It's literally making me physically sick. Remembering anytime I grasp for something outside of me that I feel, I don't know what this says, on guard, inaccurate, feel, I don't know, connect to the earth. Feel disconnected is probably what I was trying to write. I don't know. Connect to the earth, ground, go inward first to see if you really need something, or you actually needed to take that moment to just feel grounded in like goodness within you. It was just showing me like how we pollute our bodies, and that I feel like it was helping me purify my vessel and want to stay so deeply connected to whole food and eating to nourish my body, tissue, and talk to it, and truly understand the meaning of showing it love, giving so much love and nourishment to myself. And I also had a really clear download that I meant to write a book. So there's that. And yeah, self-love and relationships. Love was a huge theme. And that was pretty much it. So that was my journey with ayahuasca. I think you guys sometimes like when I read. Let me just read my first journal notes, okay? I feel she helped me sit with and feel all the discomfort and unfairness that was put on me to navigate some really hard emotions by myself. I didn't feel I had the safe relationship to lean on my mom or allow her to be my support and guide because of the lack of openness and deep judgment. Little me wishes she had someone to trust as a mentor, guide, safe space to tell everything to, without judgment or worry of how it would be perceived. People need that more than ever to be witnessed in their truth and their experience, knowing it's all on no need to feel guilt and shame. Oh, I don't know what that says. Is all on, no need to feel, guilt and shame, but to release the darkness and sickness that was often passed on to you and then unknowingly passed on to others. Showed me and wanted me to acknowledge I went through a lot as a kid and that I brushed it off as normal and kept moving forward without much understanding or guidance to process what I was witnessing or how to describe it and release it. So I took the role of absorbing and holding, like I did in my family and my mom for her deep sadness, anger, and resentment that I'd held in my own body and my whole life, not even realizing it wasn't mine. I just absorbed it like a sponge with no awareness. It was never mine to hold. So it also gave me the vision, like we can choose to just let it all go. It was like me and a sponge, like literally like wringing it out and like dropping it all. And like our bodies and our kids' bodies are sponges. And so they're going to hold whatever they don't know how to process. And that our kids are so genius and why they cry so much to always be consistently releasing what doesn't need to be theirs to hold. With the person situation about the sexual abuse, I truly have forgiveness and understanding, but have processed how sad and betrayed I felt by that violation of my body, who I'd given full trust and respect and love to. I looked up to her like a big sister. I made the story I should let my body be used by people I love and bypass how I was feeling about it if I wanted to. And so I let myself be used for sex, intimacy, and connection and closeness without it truly providing me that at all, even with my boyfriends, where I need to be the one in control and power and choose when I feel like opening. Yeah, so it was showing me like I need to be the one that's in control and power and choose when I feel like opening, when I feel that it's truly best and they have best intentions and have true love in their heart for me. And then money, just like a money thought, and then I'll be done. Thanks for bearing with me if you stayed this whole time. I thought about money and how my intention with it over the next year is to create a beautiful, welcoming, comforting, safe home where people feel seen and that they can relax and feel cozy, safe, and comfort with connection to the land, plants, and animals, like a Mother Earth sanctuary. And then I just was like, this was my vision, like to have lighting to the back where I'll have a retreat space where it's used to hold space for people to come and feel their stuff, release the darkness. And just to be able to, any of the money that I earn over the next year, all going toward creating this almost like sanctuary for people and a safe haven for not only my kids, but creating a podcast studio also to really dive into like quality content. Cause I feel like there's so much wisdom that we could share. And like, I want to do this so much bigger and better with higher quality. And so it was showing me that. And it was basically me giving intention to all of the money I'm going to earn to do something really, really amazing and beautiful with that. And so that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening to my journey with ayahuasca. And again, just so grateful to those who took the time to learn this medicine, to create this medicine, to give us the opportunity to be able to work with this medicine, and the medicine team who facilitated this. And it's just a really big deal because it's just so beautiful, and truly, like, when people call it a drug, it's like, that's just not true. It's such an amazing medicine. That's what it is. Like, if you're okay taking a pharmaceutical or taking an injection of, like, who knows what, how could you not be okay with some plants and leaves that are here to literally help heal the planet? That's their purpose. That's their mission, is to connect you deeper with God so you can have a better understanding of our true nature as human beings, and how far away we've moved from that. Like, and I think the thing is, it's like, I had a moment where I was like, oh, I could just take my kids, live in the jungle in a hut. Like, I don't need anything. And that's true. And I'm going to be really, truly taking a serious note. Like, I've been eating fully whole food since I got home. It feels so good. Like, I just have such a deep appreciation for food, and how much we even abuse that. And then it was also showing, like, we have just so much stuff, and I want to repurpose it and get rid of it and, like, move back to just, like, materials that are from this earth, to really connect with that. And so anyways, I'm taking actions in any way I can based on all of this to create this. And when I came out of it all and I realized, like, I am so grateful I just bought that farm and that I have that land that I'm going to be able to grow and nurture and love on, to create this really deep representation and connection with Mother Earth. Like, I'm really excited for that. And so anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. Please, if you loved this episode, share it, hit subscribe or follow on the podcast. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post the videos there, and that's just super helpful in creating, getting the word out. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for listening. That was my journey. I don't want to keep you much longer. I have a big group of people coming over tonight, and I just wanted to share this before it kind of left my mind, because this is officially a week out since I sat with my second ceremony. So just seriously endlessly grateful for the opportunity and the wisdom that I feel. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone who listens to this podcast. Like, I appreciate you so freaking much when you guys share these episodes and connect with me over what you learn and your key takeaways from these episodes. Like, it really does mean so much. So I just appreciate it. And thanks for listening to myself and my voice and spending an hour with me. I love you guys. Have the best day.